And what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC towards the end?
It was a flagrant foul.
You think it's like defending the team, or how do you view just how it all?
I view it as a flagrant foul.
That's a game too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys came for basketball.
Yeah,
Let's talk about basketball.
Yeah.
Come on now.
What do you think of just how you all were able to pull in the second half, Caitlin in
We're
particular?
going to the Commissioner Cup Championship.
Let's
That's
go!
pretty exciting. Y'all want to talk about that? Let's talk about that.
What do you think, again, in the second half?
The WNBA is on the verge of sabotaging its own survival. Its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, is reportedly at a breaking point, and the whispers of her leaving are growing louder every day. This isn't just about rookie hazing. It's a story of on-court assaults ignored by officials, a jealous league that resents its own savior, and a media that blames the victim. Now, a shocking rumor is taking hold that Clark is planning an escape. A power move so defiant, it could expose the WNBA's deepest flaws and leave the league scrambling for the very attention she single-handedly delivered. WNBA record.
WNBA record? This is her second season. And you put the numbers together, it's like 10 seasons. That girl did it in 10 seasons. That means she had one a season. Caitlin Clark is... when Caitlin Clark gets to 10 seasons, she's going to have 100 of these. And y'all can't get a girl her roses. Now, I don't like the fact that she be getting woke because she don't want all these lesbians to be mad at it. At the end of the day, is the woman putting in the work, she's putting in the work.
The impact. To understand why leaving is even on the table, you first have to grasp the sheer scale of her impact. The numbers don't just tell a story, they scream it from the rooftops. Before Caitlin Clark, the WNBA was a niche league fighting for airtime. After her arrival, it became appointment television. We're talking about a one-woman economic stimulus package. Arenas that once had seas of empty seats were suddenly sold out. Not just in her home city of Indiana, but in every single city she visited. Opposing teams moved their games to larger NBA venues just to accommodate the tidal wave of fans coming to see her play.
This is all going according to plan. This is ideal. Caitlin Clark is holding up her end by being awesome and by being a trash-talking jerk on the court. Love it. Her teammates are holding up their end by having her back. The other players in the league are holding up their end by not liking her. Perfect. Couldn't have written a better script. Caitlin is talking trash to this girl. This girl's hard fouling her. Her teammate Sophie Cunningham, who got a black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 6, she's like, I will F you guys up. All of it's great, and Caitlin's a killer. 10 out of 10.
Her jersey became the highest selling of any athlete in any sport upon its release. The league's viewership on major networks skyrocketed by triple-digit percentages, but the most damning piece of evidence came when she was briefly sidelined with an injury. The WNBA's viewership instantly plummeted by a staggering 55%. Let that sink in. One player sits out and more than half the entire television audience for the whole league vanishes. This wasn't a team player. She was the entire market single-handedly funding her own opposition and paying the salaries of the very players who seemed to resent her for it.
Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a complete different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
Yeah, but for all the money and attention she brought in, her welcome to the league felt less like a red carpet and more like a back alley ambush. It quickly became clear that opponents had one primary defensive strategy. See how much physical abuse she could endure before she broke. This wasn't just tough physical basketball. It was a targeted campaign. Every game was a highlight reel of hip checks, off-ball schvees, and aggressive closeouts that straddled the line of outright assault. The peak of this came with the infamous shove from Marina Mabry, who sent Caitlin flying with a full body check, completely disconnected from the play.
I will say this, when Caitlin Clark was out, they lost 55% of their viewership. So, basically, Caitlin Clark is paying all their salaries.
Pretty much.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can hate her as much as you want, but she's brought in millions of fucking dollars. So you should be kissing her ass.
And that kind of defeated the purpose of Angel Reese's argument of she's like, hey, it's not just Caitlin Clark that is bringing all the viewership to the WNBA. It's like, well, it definitely is. It's like it kind of proved that with the viewership rating being down that she significantly increases viewership.
They try so hard to compare her to Caitlin Clark.
They try, so it was a move reaction you'd expect to see in a hockey game, not on a basketball court. Yet, through it all, Clark's reaction was the most infuriating thing to her detractors. She didn't retaliate. She didn't complain. She just got back up, dusted herself off, and went back to work. Her composure wasn't seen as professionalism. It was seen as arrogance, which only fueled the fire and made the next hit even harder. The message was clear. You will not outshine us. And if we can't stop you with skill, we'll try to stop you with force. Does Fever and Sun hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out? This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raped across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell. If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials, if you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So, you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this. You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the entire WNBA. But the hits on the court were only part of the story. Because the people paid to enforce the rules were nowhere to be found. While Caitlin was being treated like a human piñata, the referees seemed to be looking the other way. Their whistles apparently lost. Blatant aggressive fouls were ignored or called as common fouls, sending a clear signal to the rest of the league. It's open season. The WNBA front office, the very institution that should have been protecting its golden goose, remained deafeningly silent. They were quicker to comment on dress code violations than on the systematic targeting of their biggest star.
Fever and Sun hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raped across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the entire WNBA.
What happened in action gave birth to a fan-led crusade online. The Protect Caitlin Clark movement. Viewers became amateur forensic analysts, replaying clips in slow motion, circling illegal screens, and screaming into the digital void for a flagrant foul that would never come. It exposed a deep, unsettling hypocrisy at the heart of the WNBA. They wanted her marketing power, her ticket sales, and her TV ratings, but they refused to offer her the basic protection afforded to any other player. This failure wasn't just incompetent. It felt intentional. A silent endorsement of the on-court my proposal hazing.
A lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA.
And just when you thought the situation couldn't get any more absurd, the media chimed in to blame the one being attacked. Instead of calling out the dangerous plays, a bizarre narrative began to take shape among sports analysts and talking heads. The aggression, they argued, was Caitlin's own fault. She was too confident. She engaged in trash talk. They claimed she brought it on herself. This argument is so fundamentally broken, it's hard to know where to begin. We're talking about professional sports. A world built on ego, competition, and psychological warfare. Michael Jordan was a legendary trash talker. Larry Bird built a career on dismantling opponents mentally before the game even started.
I am sick and tired of the way they are treating my girl, Caitlin Clark. I am here to propose a solution. I think they need an enforcer. someone who comes off the bench to kind of lay the smackdown on an opposing team member. I want to get the word out to the Indiana Fever that I am available. I'm ready to identify as whatever I need to in order to get the job. They need someone like me. Why? Because I'm not afraid of any 6 foot tall lesbian. I work out. Now, I have a couple of real good go-to moves in my bag of tricks.
Let's SH the double standard. Their antics are celebrated, immortalized as part of their competitive fire. But when Caitlin Clark does it, she's suddenly violating some unwritten rule that invites physical retaliation. This blatant double standard was infuriating for fans to watch. Commentators would bend over backwards to justify a violent shove, analyzing Caitlin's posture or attitude as if she was somehow asking for it. They were essentially blaming the mailbox for getting hit by a drunk driver. The message was twisted and clear. In the WNBA, if you are a confident woman who backs it up, you deserve whatever comes your way.
Oh, it's not
a snitch, nigga, that shit I don't like.
They get into it a bit here. Lexi Hall now gets it.
Oh, bitch, nigga.
Clothing space, Caitlin Clark hits the deck.
Sneak decides that shit I don't like.
Sheldon and Cunningham are getting into it.
A snitch, nigga, that's that shit I don't like.
Caitlin Clark with a few words with JC Shannon.
But this the toxic environment wasn't just limited to opponents. It seemed to be woven into the very fabric of the league's veteran culture. The term gatekeeping became the word of the day. It was a strange self-defeating crusade by some players who felt Clark hadn't earned her stripes. Earned what exactly? She was already the most famous and influential player in the league, bringing more attention and money to the WNBA in a few months than some franchises had in decades. The resentment was palpable. Players who had been fighting for recognition for years suddenly found themselves as supporting characters in the Caitlin Clark show, and they didn't like it. The rivalry with Angel Ree and others was constantly highlighted, but it was just one symptom of a much larger disease. It was a league-wide identity crisis where a faction of players seemed more committed to putting the new star in her place than capitalizing on the once-in-a-generation opportunity she represented. They were so focused on who the queen of the court was that they failed to realize the entire kingdom was on the verge of collapsing without her.
Caitlin Clark has decided to quit the WNBA and move on and go play over in Europe. I do not blame her. I applaud it. I say do it. Get as far away from the WNBA as you can. Let that league sink. Okay? Do not help them, Caitlin. Get away. I believe you could create your own league. Okay? You could be the fucking player that creates whatever, the next professional women's basketball league. Let this one just go and let Caitlin try to build the next WNBA.
This brings us back to the unthinkable rumor, the idea of her walking away. And it's here that the story takes a fascinating turn from a tale of abuse to one of ultimate revenge. Two main scenarios have been floated by speculative fans and analysts. The first is the European escape. She could sign a multi-million-dollar contract overseas where women's basketball stars are often treated with more respect and reverence. She would be paid handsomely, protected by the league, and allowed to just play basketball free from the high school drama and political infighting of the WNBA. The second scenario is even more dramatic, the billionaire's gambit. The theory goes that a wealthy investor seeing the WNBA's self-sabotage could approach Clark with a shocking offer. I'll pay you $50 million to sit out and prove the WNBA cannot survive without you. Or better yet, they could fund an entirely new rival league with Clark as its face. It would be the most disruptive move in modern sports history. A direct challenge that would expose the WNBA's fragility and potentially build a new empire on its ruins.